snuggle with me because I'm so cute.
Hey folks, welcome back to Bear Mountain. This is a brand new year, 2023. We're just getting started on stuff that we're going to be doing around the farm here for this next year, and we kind of took a break. As you may have noticed, that we didn't put too many videos out in November and December, and it was kind of nice to just kick back and kind of let the year wind down and take care of a few things that you always need to do, you know, at the holiday season for getting ready for the holidays and all that. But now we're back into the new year and we're starting with our first project here. And this one is one that we have been kind of slowly chipping away at for a while. When we first moved into the property, there was an area in here which had a lot of ivy and pine trees. They were shore pines that were kind of had problems, and eventually what happened over time is that even through our best efforts, the ivy kind of got into the trees and the trees ended up getting storm damaged. Long story short, basically we're redoing this whole area right here in the front of the property. It's not actually the very front, it's kind of down off the main road as you turn off onto our place. And this is a nice opportunity for an area to put in some small fruit trees with maybe some planted areas outside of the drip line of the fruit trees. And so we've got an area here that's it's roughly about, if I don't trip on myself here, it's roughly about probably 30 foot wide at its widest, and it kind of goes down into a triangle. But right through the center, from about this point further down the hill, is about 70 feet. So we could easily put in a number of fruit trees that we're looking at that will be dwarf, getting roughly about 8 to 10 foot in height, and that would be kind of the center, and it would do a couple of things. As the trees would get to their height, besides getting fruit, we'll also be able to get a little bit of shade towards the house and a little bit of a summer windbreak, but not so much the issue is wind, but it's more along the lines of kind of having a little bit of a cooling effect on with stuff that's on the other side, because this exposure right here is to the southwest. So normally what we see is more heat in the summertime, and actually even stays a little warmer in the wintertime because of the southwest exposure. So what we're thinking about putting in is we will put in a couple of peach trees, about 3 apple trees, and 3 different types of pear trees. And the idea is what we're trying to do is get some food off of these guys to give us enough to make either stored fresh or stored apples to eat, fresh apples to eat, maybe do some canning, you know, in terms of things like some sauces or canned pears or canned peaches and that kind of thing, because there's only the 2 of us, so we don't need a huge orchard of a lot of trees, but just enough to give us, you know, a nice flavor of things to go through the wintertime.
What are the trees behind you?
These were, they're ornamental cherry trees. And probably what we're going to do is we're going to thin a few of these guys out. Like there's some, they actually were spread from the roots of some older Kwanzan cherry, I think it was called, but they have a grafted root on it that's kind of it's an ornamental cherry. And what they did is they kind of sprouted and formed their own little trees. And it was great for giving some shade, but I think, you know, in this patch in here, we'll be thinning out a few of those trees, like probably getting rid of most of that patch right there, which puts too much shade into the garden. But overall, we're going to trim this ivy way back and get rid of that and kind of open this up so we could put some maybe more shade tolerant things in here. So kind of want to look at the design of this as we'll be doing some like raised beds or boxes on the downhill side away from the fruit trees, and then some more on the uphill side. So the idea would be that we would be able to integrate in more flowers and herbs and maybe even some small growing things like strawberries or stuff like that that would fit into, you know, the whole area.
The base of this is a retaining wall.
Right. There is a retaining wall that's down it's about 10 feet away from the house. But we're not going to plant all the way down to the retaining wall. We'll leave kind of a buffer of about 6 to 8 feet to the uphill side, and that way we should be able to leave, with the number of trees we have and the space we have, we should be able to leave a good 10 to 12 feet between the trees. And the idea is I don't want to crowd the trees, even though they're small and they're dwarf, but what I want to do is allow the canopies to be able to, you know, not necessarily touch each other, but to be able to, you know, work around the trees, all the way around the trees. So this one has kind of been taking us a bit of time. I've been working on it as I can for the last month and a half and cutting things up, and I got a pile of brush to get rid of, and then we have to come in and we have to, once we get all of the rough stuff out of here, probably what I'm going to be doing is working on areas of tarping it so that I kill off what roots of the ivy are left. And we'll be ordering the trees. Kind of got a nursery up here in Washington I've been looking at, Burnt Ridge. They seem to have a nice selection of trees, and they I think would be a real good fit for getting them here, because they're just up the road from us in about a couple hours. So it's kind of nice not to have something shipped all the way across the country. So what are your thoughts?
This used to be, when we first bought this property, every bit of plant material, there were Fitzers and Mugo pines and stuff. I think I have a picture. I'll see if I can find it. They were just tiny little things, and then they became this overgrown, taller than you, massive.
Yeah, no matter how much we try to keep them pruned, but it's the ivy that really, once that stuff got established, this English ivy, well, actually it's listed in Oregon as a noxious weed. I think I understand why, but it really, it became a constant hassle, and we lost the battle for sure.
Yeah.
But, so
the shore pines and some of the Mugo pines that were like 10 or 12 feet tall, in a snowstorm got broken and split with the weight of wet snow, and it just became this, what we called Pine Island. It just became this ugly eyesore that's at the front of our house, not the front of our property, but the front of our house. And it worked really hard on getting this so that you can see the ground.
yeah,
You know, we used part of it for a compost pile, but that's not going to happen anymore because we're doing our own. And
yeah, so we should be able to get quite a bit of stuff in here.
yeah,
And it's nice, the nice thing about it is it's close to the house. So the type of things we're going to be raising in here would be things that you would use, you know, in kitchen garden type stuff. The orchard maybe is a little bit, you know, most people would probably put it a little further away from the house, but I'm trying to get a dual purpose out of this, is make it look nice at the same time being productive.
yeah, so I think that's going to be great, and hopefully we can keep everything dwarf.
Yeah, well, it's all about the rootstock, you know,
Well,
and
yeah,
your
but
pruning.
We got some really large apple trees that are behind you.
Yeah, they're standard size trees.
That are, yeah, they're standard, but the only way we get apples is that the branches get heavy and bring down to us.
Well, it's, again, you know, kind of getting back to getting stuff pruned and taken care of. So this is kind of going to be kind of a challenge, and we're doing it, you know, as we can, work it in with other things that are going on in daily life. So luckily we've had actually pretty good weather so far this fall and early winter.
Some very, very cold, icy days, but this is the first of the new year, and it's probably about 50 degrees, and the sun is warm on my back, and
Yeah, it's spring.
I can, yeah, that's the problem is we're looking at this going, should we get started on our, production of our veggies and stuff? And we're kind of warning each other that this is a false.
Yeah, we got a couple of weeks, and then we'll start up the early veg like greens, and start up some of the cole crops like that we're going to want to harvest in May and that sort of thing, and also the onions. I mean, that'll be the big thing. A lot of onions.
Yeah, we went through the onions this year pretty seriously.
Yeah.
In all of our food. Yeah. Preparations and recipes and stuff. So
well, we're officially, just to let folks know too, is that we're officially retired from the flower business, but that doesn't mean we don't raise flowers for our own enjoyment.
Flowers, I'm gonna still raise flowers. It's just I have to rethink the production level. This is going to be much smaller, but still beautiful.
2022 was the last year we sold flowers commercially. We just kind of decided, things are...
It's 20 years.
Yeah, it's time to make a change, With everything, there's a cycle to it, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And for us, that was 2022, was just kind of said, it's a great point to take a break and refocus on a different direction. There's always been lots of things in regular gardening with food and things like that I've always wanted to do.
Well, we both are sort of like that. When we were reminiscing last night on New Year's Eve, that this is going to be our 40th year of marriage this August. 40? Yeah.
You're like old.
Old. And we both talked about our first little house that we rented. One of the first things we did is built a little box under the swing set that was there. And
yeah, it was a tract home with scraped off soil, so there really wasn't soil.
We put a little garden in, because we wanted things like tomatoes and stuff like that. Yeah. And then everywhere we've moved, we've put in a garden. Everywhere. It's
just for the last, it kind of seemed, like once you go into the agricultural side of things, and you're producing for a commercial reason, unless you get a lot of employees to kind of backstop you, when you're doing it as a couple, even though it was a kind of a side hustle in a sense, it really became
all intensive,
all consuming. So a lot of things that you want to do, from a hobby standpoint and things like that, it just kind of fell by the way, because the job itself ended up being, because you're living where the job is, you just always
go home.
It's kind of the thing is like you walk outside and there's always 1,000 things to do, even though you say, wait a minute, today is not the day I'm working on. Well, you walked outside and you go, I'll just do this one thing, and the next thing you know, the day's gone.
Right. So now, since we let the selling part, commercial part of flowers go, we're still going to grow lots of flowers. Come on. I'm not giving those away up.
Yeah, we're just not going to go through the, the Herculean efforts of like raising stuff in the wintertime, so that you can hit Valentine's Day or something like that.
This will be more oriented for those of you who
it's seasonal.
Following us. This is going to be more like large home gardening, where we integrate veggies and flowers and herbs and trees and fruits and all that kind of stuff that we've put off for kind of almost 20 years. Well, not quite, about 18, but...
Put it this way, we never really developed it to the level that I think...
We want to be able to grow year-round.
Yeah,
and we haven't,
food-wise,
we haven't been able to do that. We've come close.
Yeah.
But not what we're happy with, and so we want to be able to grow year-round fruits, vegetables, putting them up in food preservation, and
so we're going to work on a lot of things that other people would say, well, gee, you've been living there for 105 years, why isn't that done? Well, a lot of it is, life gets in the way of things sometimes, and
sometimes
now I think
get injured.
Yeah, now I think, at this point, it's just time to say, all that commercial stuff, it was fun.
It was fun.
We met a lot of really cool people.
You got to find a good exit strategy, and this is it.
Yep.
This is what's going to make us happy. So we're going to be able to pull in more things that we like to do that we've never had any time.
But now when we raise things, it doesn't mean that, you know, all the things that we learn from a no-dig or no-till or Jadam or that sort of thing, that's all going to come into play into this. So these things are still going to be, you know, worked on and refined, and it's going to be part of what we do. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this season. I think hopefully 2023 for everybody will be calmer.
A little calmer, a little quieter, a little easier.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of rough things that are out there, but you know.
For us, we're choosing to have it be a little easier, quieter.
Yep. So anyway, folks, we just wanted to start the year off with kind of showing the new project that we're working on, and we'll have many more. And we're going to do a video, a regular video, I guess you'd say long form video like this one, on a weekly basis. That's kind of the goal. You know, unless of course
life gets involved.
Life gets in the way, which hopefully, you know, we can stay consistent to that. And then from time to time, you know, as it makes sense, we'll put some shorts out on, you know, some things that we might find kind of cool or interesting. So those things are kind of be, you know, no definite schedule to. Some weeks maybe none, some weeks maybe 2 or 3, something like that.
But I hope that you will stick with us. I mean, we took quite an extended break, but we so needed it to kind of refocus our where we're going and what we're doing. We made some choices, and here we are. Yep. New day, a new year. Kind of exciting, huh?
Yeah. Don't we sound excited?
Yes, we do. We're excited.
Are you super excited?
Yeah. Now everybody's got to drink a...
Yeah, every time you hear the phrase super excited, you got to drink.
Yeah.
Your favorite beverage, hopefully not alcohol.
It's coffee.
So anyway, folks, I want to thank you for joining us on this maybe too long video. I don't know. But anyway, we'll catch you on the next video, and you guys stay safe, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Bye.